Hi, everybody. Good to see you. Sorry for the abrupt cutoff of the music. I'm going to turn it back on while we add a few more folks who are joining. But feel free to put your name and organization in the chat, just so we know who's here. Hi, everyone. It's good to see you. Welcome.
Thanks. Good to see you too.
Great. Ooh, Henry's got his awesome background going on. Love it. I just figured out how to actually put the SAC Youth Works logo above me. I feel like a weather person. I don't know what direction I'm supposed to be going. So I got a few people joining right now. Hope everyone's having a good Thursday. I know there's a lot of like funding opportunities, and big day of giving is coming, and just there's a lot going on right now. So thank you for making time to join this meeting. And Brian, I'm going to make you a co-host so you can admit folks as they come into the room.
Sounds good.
All right. All right, we're going to get started because there's just a lot to talk about today. But first of all, I did want to just welcome everyone to the SAC Youth Works Spring Funding Opportunity Information Session. So here we go. Some of you are familiar with SAC Youth Works because you participated in it before, and some of you are new to this. So if you're new or if you're returning, I'm very happy to have you here today. Just a few things as we go forward. Just wanted to let you know who I am. I'm Rachel Minnick. I'm the Director of Strategic Programs and Development for the Youth and Family Collective. And with me is Brian Vargas, who's the project coordinator for the Youth and Family Collective. He's waving. Thank you. Brian is going to be monitoring the chat. And if there's questions that he can answer in the chat, he's going to be doing that. So if you have something you want to ask in the chat, feel free to type it in there. And if he can answer it, he will. And if he cannot, we will address that question at the end. And just a little bit about the Youth and Family Collective. We are about bringing partners together to work on collaborative projects. And our goal is to help youth, families, and all of you learn, earn, and thrive. Because so often we focus on our youth and our families that we care so much about, and then we get forgotten as organizations, and that is not okay. So really the goal is for all of us to learn, earn, and thrive. So I hope you're on board with that idea. I think you probably are. All right. So today, what are we going to be doing? There's a lot. So I do need to kind of keep things moving. As far as questions, let's just make sure they stay till the end of the presentation, because I'll very likely cover some of the questions that you have. We're going to do an overview of SAC Youth Works and talk about what we mean when we say connect, learn, earn. We'll go over the program details, the target youth population, what do the service and training details look like that are expected of SAC Youth Works? Is your organization eligible? That's something we'll talk about. Funding information, so what kind of money will you get if you get funded? How to apply? I'm going to just go quickly through the online application if you haven't seen it before or haven't looked at it yet. How your application will be evaluated, some tips and details, and then Q&A, and then contact info. So, Brian, we've got some folks. I think we've got one person in the waiting room right now. So, thank you. All right, so some of you have already jumped in and done this, but if you have not already, please type your name and organization in the chat. As I said, please hold questions till Q&A, or feel free to put them in the chat at any time. The meeting is being recorded. I will be sharing the slides and the video as soon as I can right after this session today. Just a quick reminder, this session is an overview, so I am not going to be able to hit on every last detail. Please, please, please use the request for proposals, AKA the RFP, as your guide, because there's a lot in there. But it's a great resource for you to know what we're looking for with SAC Youth Works. And then some of you may have questions about what happens after you're funded. We're going to talk probably like one or two things about that today, but really just know that if you are recommended for funding, then you'll receive an orientation and a one-on-one onboarding session so that we can help you work through all of that stuff. So I don't want you to worry too much about that today, but just make sure you read through the RFP to get a sense of all of the expectations. All right. Okay, so what is SAC Youth Works? SAC Youth Works is a work-based learning and service initiative for youth. It's a network of youth serving community partners, AKA all of you. And it's a way for us to work together to build opportunities for youth to learn, earn, connect. And I actually have those backwards. It should be connect, learn, earn. Oops. Session 2, you all will get the right wording. SAC Youth Works was launched through a partnership with the City of Sacramento and the Youth and Family Collective last year. It was in response to COVID-19, but we had so much success with it that we could see that this type of program where youth are receiving a stipend and organizations are supported in working with youth, that there was just value in continuing it. So we've had 46 community partners participate over the last 2 sessions. Over 1,300 youth and young adults have participated. The average participant age was 16 and a half. More than 50% of those youth were living with 2 or more risk factors. And many of you are very familiar with those risk factors. And 88% reside or attend school in priority neighborhoods. And you'll see the priority neighborhoods map in the RFP. And I have a quick little screenshot of it in here, which you'll see later. Okay. So SAC Youth Works Spring is a super tight timeline. Programming will start May 1st through June 30th. So that's your first thing to think about is this realistic for me? And if it's not, we totally understand. And there'll be future opportunities. We're working hard to be able to continue SAC Youth Works into the summer and beyond. So we'll have more information on that later. So this may or may not be a great timing for you, but I just want to put that on the table like right away so that there's no question. And those are very fixed dates. One of the questions I've gotten is, are these dates flexible? Unfortunately, no. You have to start and end your program in that May 1st through June 30th window. And SAC Youth Works Spring will be bringing together 20 to 25 youth service providers. So we'll be selecting about 20 organizations to participate who will serve 300 high school age youth ages 14 to 19 in a 40-hour paid work-based learning experience. And the cool part about this is that you really get to design the learning experience based on your organization. What's your mission? What do you care about? What do the youth that you work with care about? What sorts of training are youth interested in? What are your specific expertise? You're able to actually design your SAC Youth Works experience. You tailor it to your needs and your organization, which is what I love. We're not saying everyone has to do this kind of service project or everyone has to do all of these trainings. The important thing is that those things go together. So we'll talk more about that in a little bit. Okay, so you'll hear us say connect, learn, earn a lot. This is taken directly out of the RFP, so I won't bore you to death with the reading part of it, but it's really, really important that we think about when you're creating your application, that you really keep these things in mind. So how are you going to build youth connections to other adults, to leaders in your organization, to people on career pathways, professionals, and how are you helping youth develop relationships with each other? And then how does your project connect youth to work-based learning opportunities? So this can include things like career pathways, internships, thinking about what are the career futures for the young people that we are serving and how can we prepare them for those. And that can be through work-based experiences, and some organizations have more ways to kind of do more work specific activities, and other organizations are doing community service projects. So it just really depends on your organization, but really think about, how does this support a young person on their pathway to career, college, and a bright future? And that you're exposing youth to jobs and careers that align with your service project. So if you're doing a service project on, like, let's say a food drive, and then you have youth do a STEM career pathway or STEAM career pathway, you have to make the case of how those things go together. And that's just, I think for most of you makes sense. But if you're doing a resume training for young people, how can you connect that to the work-based learning or service project that they're doing? So just thinking about that, how does your training align with it? And the learning aspect of Sac Youth Works is really important. Learning right now for young people is so weird. It's just weird with with COVID and distance learning. So this is a way for young people to learn in different ways, and with hands-on experiences or more real-world experiences, because hands-on is kind of even that is kind of strange right now because it's hard to be face-to-face with people. And as I said, service and work-based learning should align with training. The more opportunities for young people to apply the training that they're getting in the real world, the better. Like that's what makes a really great Sac Youth Works project. And you will, again, for partners who've been with us before, we had the Imago, IMAGO online learning platform that was available to all partners. There's no extra charge. And I'm going to show it to you in a little bit, but it's so cool because you can tailor so many of the different trainings that they have to the needs of your service project. It's all online. There's curriculum guides you can download. If you have youth that need to make up time because they missed a session, you can assign them to different trainings in Imago. And you can even, like, they answer questions and you can see if they actually did it, which is really awesome too. So there's a lot of great things with Imago. You're not required to use Imago if you don't want to. If you have other training in mind that you want to do, cool. But if you don't, I would highly recommend checking out Imago. You can go there anytime. Their web address is weareimago.com. And if you just look at their lessons, you don't have to log in or do anything funky. You can just check them out. So I would really encourage you to do that. And then lastly, the earn part of Connect, Learn, Earn is the youth earn a $500 stipend, and that is paid directly to the youth. So we will provide you with a lump sum, and then you will cut those checks to your youth by June 30th. All right. Okay, so some additional program details. I'm not going to repeat this one because I think we got it. 14 to 19, May 1st to June 30th, et cetera, et cetera. How many youth can you serve? Your cohort can be between 5 youth and 20 youth. So if you are a program where you are new, or you've maybe struggled with enrollment or recruiting youth, don't feel pressured to apply for the 20 youth. There's no, like, we don't give preference to organizations that serve more young people. If you comfortably can serve 5, comfortably serve 5. I would really recommend that, especially with this tight time frame. Recruitment of young people, you're just not going to have a ton of time to do it. So this is an opportunity, I would say, to really incentivize youth that you may already be working with. It's always great to engage new youth if you can do it, but given the short time frame, it might be a push. So your cohort size can be between 5 and 20. And for some, 20 is like no biggie, but I just want to really give you some, just some words of wisdom around that one. And don't feel pressured. Like we're going to overvalue the organizations that can serve 20. We don't, it's not like that. You can do in-person, virtual, or hybrid. So a mix of in-person and virtual if you want. The only thing we ask is that just you follow whatever the current COVID guidelines are, which are changing, on a daily basis in some cases, but just making sure that you're following those social distancing protocols, masks, et cetera, et cetera. You can schedule programming really according to your organization's schedule. I would say to be on the safe side, plan for about 5 hours or more per week. Because if you think about, we've got 8 weeks, 40 hours, that comes out to 5 hours. Could you do like long Saturdays or Sundays? Sure, absolutely. Just do what works for your organization as long as you can get to that 40 hours. And it's kind of weird right now because young people will be out of school before this SAC Youth Works timeframe ends. But before that, just make sure that you're not scheduling things that interfere with their Zoom school or whatever. Some kids are back. I think Sac City went back face-to-face today, so we'll see how that goes. But just keep that in mind in that first part of the session because young people will still be in school. As I said, you can deliver training on your own or use Imago. The thing with training is that only 20 hours can be counted toward the 40. So, and you don't have to do 20 hours of training if you don't want to. If you're doing 30 hours in your service project and your hands-on activities and you're only doing 10 hours of training, that's okay. But we don't want to see youth doing 40 hours of sitting in front of a screen on Imago or, sitting and listening. Just we all know how that is. It's not easy. And this is really about hands-on real world learning. Let's see. I've pretty much hit home on the alignment of training and service. If you are selected for funding, we will ask you for a more detailed work plan and safety plan. For those of you that have been with us before, it's going to be very similar. I might make a couple of little tweaks to it, but it'll be a week by week plan. What are you, how many hours, who's going to be doing your training? What are your training topics? Those are the kind of the things you want to be thinking about over an 8-week span. And then same with safety plan. If your organization already has a detailed safety plan for how you engage with youth in hybrid, face-to-face, whatever your program delivery is, you can actually submit that after you've been selected for funding. You don't have to use our safety plan, but if you're sitting here and you're like, we don't have that, we've never had that, that's okay. We have a template that you can take and just tweak it to your organization. It has a lot of safety guidelines already spelled out. Some of them might not really be right for your organization, so you can just delete those out of it. But then you have a safety plan ready to go, and it's something you can share with anyone else who's working with the youth in your cohort. And then lastly, I always want to advertise this like as the most important thing that we bring. The Youth and Family Collective is part of the nonprofit Pro Youth and Families. And our goal in all of our collaborative projects is to provide support, technical assistance, tools to collect data, all of that stuff to make it easier for you to do this work. So you don't have to invent a safety plan. So you don't have to invent your own data collection plan. We have a SurveyMonkey tool that we use to collect data from you, from the youth, and it's super easy. All you have to do is say, yes, I will do it. And we're here to help you with all of that. So really, my big message to all of you is we're here to support you. This is not a, if you make one mistake, we'll never talk to you again. It's not like that at all. It's definitely an opportunity to learn and grow, to share what you know as part of this network, and also just reach out to us so that we can provide support to you. Or if you notice something is confusing, I will just say thank you to a couple of the partners who noticed some things with the application that needed to be changed. A couple of people shared some documents regarding the Secretary of State and Attorney General paperwork. Like, is this right? I so appreciate that because it gives me an idea of what you're seeing and what you need. So just know that Brian and I are here to support you. There's no dumb questions. And even if it is a dumb question, it's okay. Like, we all have those questions. So thank you for just being open to this process. We really appreciate it. Okay. Who can be served in SAC Youth Works Spring? I think if anyone runs into challenges with SAC Youth Works, this is where it happens. is in making sure that we're serving eligible youth. So youth have to hit two important components to be eligible for SAC Youth Works. The first is they have to be a high school age youth, a high school youth between the ages of 14 and 19, and they have to live or attend school within the city of Sacramento limits. So I'll say more about that in a minute. With regard to the 14 to 19 age range, if you have a 14-year-old who is currently in 8th grade for this school year that's ending in May or June, they're not eligible for SAC Youth Works. I know that's a tricky situation, but really we want to think of cohorts that are in high school and have a little bit more in common. I know we could go either way, but we just had to make a decision. Are they eligible? Are they not? And they are not eligible. Or if you have a 19-year-old who has already graduated from high school, they are not eligible to apply. So I just want to make that really clear too. We're really looking at young people who are in high school and between 14 and 19. If they're 13 and they're in high school, talk to me. I don't even want to think about that right now. But if you come across a youth in that category, reach out to me or Brian and we'll talk through it with you. Okay. I put this in red because it is super important. The age range is important and living or going to school in the city limits. It matters. Those are the only young people that are eligible. And you are responsible for screening the youth that you will be working with. I would encourage you now, if you have youth that you're thinking about engaging for SAC Youth Works, screen them now to see if they meet the criteria for SAC Youth Works, because it's a little confusing. Sacramento County and Sacramento City don't overlap on top of each other 100%. So you might have a Sacramento address and you don't live in the city limits. It's really annoying and it's really hard for some folks to they learn that and they're like, wait, what? That doesn't make any sense. One of the ways we talk about it is if you have white street signs, then you live in the county, not the city. If you have green signs, then you are in the city limits. So it is really, really funky. And I'm trying to make it as easy as possible for you to screen your youth to see if they're eligible. So the first thing that you can do is check their home address in the Find Your Council district. So I'm going to show you what this is. This is from the city of Sacramento. You come to this beautiful page and it lists out the names of every council member. And then right here, where I'm circling my cursor, you have a little box where you can put an address. So you could either put the youth's home address or the address of their school, and it will tell you if they are in the city of Sacramento. So I'm going to use our office address, which is 4625 44th Street, just as an example. Any bets on whether it's in the city or the county? Anyone? No one? Okay. Here's what happens. Okay. So if an address is in the city, it will say the city council district for this address, 4625 blah, 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 is District 5, Jay Schneerer. Pretty cool. So I know that if this was my youth's address, that they already qualify by age and they qualify by address. If they didn't qualify by their home address, you still have one more option to try to hit that eligibility, which is their school. So if this youth went to CK McClatchy, I would put in McClatchy's address. If they went to Kennedy, I would put in Kennedy's address. So, and it will, if like McClatchy would show District 4, just depends on where they're located. If nothing comes up, and I don't even know what this address is, but it's not in the city. So I'll just show you. 1000 Howe Avenue. Definitely has a Sacramento address, like if you were to write a letter to them, but says we are unable to find an address in Sacramento matching your search. Either the address is not in the city limits or there's a problem. So make sure you typed it correctly. But if you get this response back, that means that address is not in the city of Sacramento. So I just want to be really transparent how important this is, that you do check this for every youth. Okay. And then what we'll also do once we have the list of funded organizations, we also created a high school list with just about every high school in Sacramento County and whether or not they're in the city limits. So you'll be able to use that list as well. But it's super important that you screen. If they are homeschooled or on independent study, then they must qualify by their home address. Homeschool, independent study, even if it's like Heritage Peak or a place like that where they have 5 or 6 offices across Sacramento, this youth doesn't have a school building. So they have to qualify based on their address, their home address. If there's more questions about this, we can address it later, but I just want to be really, really clear how important this is. All right, it's time for the eligibility quiz. All right, everyone ready? So in the chat, I want you to look through, first of all, I want you to look through these 4 youth. We have youth A, he is 16, he goes to CK McClatchy, and his home address is in West Sacramento. Is he eligible for SAC Youth Works? We have participant B, she's 13. She goes to Wilsey Wood Middle School and she lives in Tahoe Park. Is youth B eligible for SAC Youth Works? Zuri's weighing in. Thank you. Okay, we have youth C. He's 19. He goes to Rio Americano and his home address is in Midtown. And then lastly, we have student B or D, excuse me, student D. She's 16. She goes to Cordova High School and she lives in Rancho Cordova. Okay. So we have someone guessing B and C. Only C. B is too young. Julie. On it. Any other guesses before I show the answers? Yes, B is too young. Even though she lives and goes to school in the city of Sacramento. Yeah, you gotta check the age. That's the tricky one because they have to qualify by age first. If they don't qualify by age, unfortunately, they'll have to try again another time for SAC Youth Work. Yeah, it is easier when you know your kids, for sure. Henry says A and C. Let's see. You guys ready for the answer? All right, here we go. All right, so A and C are the correct answers. They are both eligible for SAC Youth Works. A qualifies because he's in the target age range and he goes to school in the city limit. So he goes home to West Sac. He probably stays in West Sac and does his Zoom school in West Sac. But when he's in person school, he's going to school in the city. As we said, youth B, she is just too young, even though she does go to school and live in the city of Sacramento. So hopefully she'll be a future SAC Youth Works participant. If she's in your programs, keep an eye on her, let her know she's going to have an opportunity. Youth C, he is in the age range. He doesn't go to school in the city limits, but he does live in the city limits. So he qualifies in those ways. And then unfortunately, youth D, she is the right age, but she does not go to school or live in the city of Sacramento. So this is Henry's good job. Yep. Okay. Move on. Okay. So in addition to the eligibility for age and living or going to school in the city of Sacramento, we also are really looking at SAC Youth Works as an opportunity to support youth who oftentimes are left out of a lot of opportunities. So we really are looking for applicants who are serving youth that live in the priority neighborhoods, which is the map that you see on the left. This is an attachment in the RFP, so you can really take a look at it. Don't worry if you don't have a minute to really look at it here right now. For a lot of you who are familiar with Sacramento, this is, I'm sure you're well aware of the communities of need. And if you serve a community that's not seen on this map, is not identified on this map, but you believe it's a vulnerable community, there is an opportunity in the application for other, and you can name the community. And then we're also looking at youth who are facing one or more of the challenging or just life circumstances on the right-hand side. So what I shared with you at the beginning is over half the youth were experiencing 2 or more challenges. So we were really serving a population of youth who are vulnerable, and we're really looking to continue that with SAC Youth Work Spring, that our most vulnerable youth are receiving this financial support and this mentoring and opportunity to learn and grow. So this is all in the application, and it's also in the RFP. And then just a quick note on this too. You don't win a prize if you check all the boxes. So if you're like, I serve all the neighborhoods and I serve all these vulnerable youth, you might, but I would really encourage you to really think about which groups of youth are really your strong suit and how your project is really going to support them. So we don't look at it and go, oh, good, you checked all the boxes. I would rather you check one box and really say, this is how I support LGBTQ youth or youth who are experiencing, a disability due to mental health. I would much rather see a detailed description of that than someone who checks all the boxes. Okay. All right. Service projects and training. So service project examples are on the left-hand side here of the screen. I pulled a couple of photos from partners and some activities that they did. These are 2 events that Impact SAC created a Check Your Vibe campaign, and they did a New Year's Eve concert, which was so cool. And then Hmong Youth and Parents United did a drive-through Halloween event for youth. And so those were just some fun pictures that I wanted to share with you from real life things that happened. But your service project really just needs to benefit the community and be an opportunity for youth to learn. So we give you some examples of ideas that you can think about, but this list is certainly not exhaustive in any way, shape, or form. This is also in the RFP. So I don't want you to worry too much about it right now. If you're not sure, like you have an idea about a project and you're like, does this count? Feel free to email us. Just please do it before Monday, April 12th at 5 p.m. because if we get a whole bunch of questions at the end, we're not going to probably be able to answer all of them. So if you're not sure and you have an idea, just reach out to us and we'll talk to you about whether that project is SAC Youth Works appropriate. Training details, again, the relevancy to the work-based learning. You can coordinate your own training, as I said. Here is the Imago platform. I just wanted to show you. And if you click on curriculum, you can look at their lesson index just to see all of the different lessons that they provide. And I would really encourage you to look at this as you're thinking about your training and what you want to offer to youth, to see if there are lessons in here that would be relevant for you. So you can basically scroll through, and this talks about all of the different areas of training that you can utilize. So they talk about different industries, and there's like video series on different industries. So if you have a youth who's interested in the construction trades, there is a pathway in here. You can look at other career pathway opportunities. So there's the exploration, and then there's an action planning part. So if they want to kind of get on the steps to learning how to do certain, moving towards certain careers, it'll tell you that. Life skills, just the basic things that young people often need to know as they're venturing out into the world and, potentially looking for jobs, internships, volunteer opportunities. How do you network? What's your body language, your appearance, etiquette? And then there's more around mindset and relationship skills. So there's so much in here. I mean, I could just get lost in here, but there's so much in here for you to use. And I really encourage you to utilize it. Some of the most popular ones that we had partners use last time around was financial literacy. So there's a lot of partners focused on that because young people were getting their stipend and they wanted to talk through that. They're planning for college and learning about loans, just all kinds of useful, practical information that a lot of us probably didn't learn when we were between 14 and 19. I know I didn't. So dig around in there and just see what looks good and what you might like to use. All right. Go back to this. I really love Imago, and we will be doing Imago training and orientation. So if you didn't use it the last time around, but you want to, or you were a little rusty with it, or you've never used it before and you want to, they will be doing some training to help us help partners get their youth into Imago. And then they were really great about doing more one-off kind of trainings. If you needed more in-depth support, they did a nice job with that. So just can't say enough good things about them. Okay. How are we doing on time? Okay. Eligibility. So you have to be a 501c3 nonprofit, or you can be fiscally sponsored. Either way, you have to be in good standing with the Secretary of State, the Attorney General's Registry of Charitable Trusts, and the City of Sacramento. With regard to the City of Sacramento one, it really means if you've been a contractor with the city in the past, maybe you had a grant through like the Gang Prevention and Intervention Task Force or some other grant, pop-ups, things like that. You just have to have delivered on your promises to those grants. So if you, for whatever reason, were not able to deliver on what you said you were going to do and things did not work out well, that could be a challenge because we have our list of funding recommendations and then we share that with the city so that they can go, oh, oops. And you don't want to be on that list you don't want to go through all the trouble of doing an application only to find out that it's not going to be a good fit because of that. You will be asked to provide liability insurance proof, including covering Pro Youth and Families, which is our backbone organization. That's only if you're funded. So don't stress out about that right now. If you're like, I need that for this application, you don't. We will only ask you for that if you are recommended for funding. You have to have the capacity to fulfill all the requirements and deadlines that are listed in the RFP by June 30th. Because this is such a tight timeline, again, I can't stress this enough. Know yourself, know your limits, know what you've got on the table in front of you, and just be really realistic about whether or not you're able to commit to all of the different things that SAC Youth Works includes. And then you have to serve youth living or attending school within the city of Sacramento. Your home office does not have to be in the city limits. So I know I harped on and on and on about, is it in the city? Is it in the city? Your office does not have to be in the city limits. So, you may have a home office that is in a whole nother city. We've had that happen before, organizations who had a home office in Los Angeles, but they served young people here in the city. And that's really what's the most important for them. Okay. So the Secretary of State and Attorney General Registry of Trusts, it is not uncommon for our smaller nonprofits who don't have CFOs and tons of administrative support to change addresses and then not update the information with one of these entities, and then you're not technically up to date with them. So we understand that, and it's not to panic, but I say this to you, just follow the directions that are in the RFP and check. If you are registered and you are current, you just basically print off, you don't have to print it, you just save it as a PDF and upload it to your application to show that you're current. If you are not, and you need to refile any paperwork, there's a very, very good chance it's not going to be done by the time this application is due. That is fine. That's okay. What we do need to see is that you have a printout, a screenshot that demonstrates that you've, updated the info. Sometimes you have to pay a fee. I'll just be really upfront about that. and we see a screenshot that you're in process, that you've paid what you need to pay, the website's not updated yet, I don't care. But we do need to see proof that you are in process of fixing whatever issue you had with these. So what I would suggest to you is what a couple of partners have done already, which I think is great, is they've sent documents to me. Is this right? Is this what you're looking for? And that's really okay. So we definitely, want to check out your documents before you submit everything. And we certainly will ask questions. Like a partner submitted the other day and I was like, I don't quite understand this. Please ask ahead of time. Like, we're really okay with just looking over what you have if you're not sure. Just make sure that that happens before 5 o'clock on Monday, this coming Monday, because if we hit everything at 2 o'clock on April 14th, right before it's due, we're not going to be able to get an answer back to you so that you can actually move forward on what you need to do. So I don't want you to panic about it. I don't want to get too detailed into individual needs on this one, but individually off of this information session, Brian and I are more than happy to talk through this with you. So I'll just say that. Our email addresses are at the bottom specifically for that reason. Just we'll show these again, but just please ask for support or any information that you need on those. And the reason why we did this, and this is new, and it's, I'm sure, annoying. I'm sure you look and went, really, Rachel? Why do we have to do this? It's really important for your long-term success as an organization. To be in good standing with all of these entities means that you have the most opportunity to apply for funding. Some of the larger city, state, and federal grants, which I know all of you are like, we're going to be doing partnerships and we're going to be doing all kinds of interesting things together, or you as an individual organization, you want to be eligible for all of those opportunities. You don't want to be shut out because of an administrative hangup. And these are not difficult to fix. So I know it's a little bit of a headache right now, but in the long run, it will be worth it because you'll be administratively, you'll be ready for everything. It's just, as partners, this is not what we love doing. Like, for most of us, you didn't get into this like, yay, paperwork. No, you probably got into this because you really care about your community. So I know this is not all of our favorite thing to do. So I really appreciate you understanding this and just let us help you. Okay. Funding information. So again, organizations that can be funded are 501c3 nonprofits or fiscally sponsored organizations. And the funding is intended to do two things. One, to pay youth participants for their time and their service commitment to SAC Youth Works Spring. And then secondly, so that you all as organizations can receive administrative support for the oversight of this project and program, and all of the different things that we ask you to do, different partner meetings and so forth. So we want to be sure that you have some administrative support so that you can actually do this. And I wish it was even more than it is, but we're moving there. And again, your funding award is based on the number of youth served. So your cohort might be 5 or up to 20 or somewhere in between. And what you will receive is $500 per youth participant, and $500 that'll go directly to the young people. So that's for their stipend. And then $535 per youth participant for you as the organization to keep for your administrative and implementation costs. So in the past, we asked you for a budget. We're not doing that this time. It doesn't really make sense. It's unrestricted money. The 535 is unrestricted money. You use it how you need to use it for your organization. The $500 per youth needs to be paid directly to youth. There's really no flexibility around that. It's incredibly important. So I just really want you to be thinking about that. The minimum award, so if you only served a cohort of 5 youth, your award would be $5,175. If you had a maximum of 20 youth, your award would be $20,700. Okay, how to apply. Woohoo! I put pictures of the Secretary of State an attorney general filing. So you can just, I put pro youth and families on blast up here, but this is what you will see when these are up to date. So just to give you an example of kind of like, what am I looking for? This is what you're looking for. Applications are due April 14th by 5 p.m. You must use the electronic link that is in the RFP. We will not accept any other forms, like, so don't email it, don't handwrite it, don't carrier pigeon it, you know, don't airdrop it. I don't like all those things. We love you, but no, you can't do that. We will not accept late applications. We are very open to conversations about your service project, about your paperwork. I'm not going to review your full application ahead of time. I just can't do it, but I will certainly answer any questions about it ahead of time. But we will not accept late applications. Absolutely not. You can review all of the application questions in the RFP. So you don't have to like wait until you get into the online portal and then be surprised by the questions. You have all of them in the RFP. So just prepare them ahead of time. That's always my go-to. And the application's not crazy. Like I really, really wanted to be sure it was not a full-on dissertation with crazy word counts. That's not what we're doing here. We just want to understand what you're doing and how you're going to do it. You will need to upload your IRS determination letter, so your 501c3 letter, or the one from your fiscal sponsor if you're fiscally sponsored. The two forms that you see on the slide here, the Secretary of State filing and your Attorney General Registry of Charitable Trust filing. And that's what you need to put with your application. So you don't need to upload any other documents. We don't need your insurance. We don't need any of that. Just those three things need to be uploaded to your application. Okay. And the application is funky. So I think it was Tanya. Thank you for letting me know that when you upload and save, your documents don't save to the application. All your other text saves, but if you try to upload your Secretary of State and your IRS 501c3 letter, and then you save your application, those documents don't save. So you need to attach those just before you hit submit on that application, and I'll show you what that means. So here is the online application portal. So you'll see this here, and this will let you know that you're ready to go. You start your application. I tried to put a lot of information directly into the application portal, just so you don't have to go back and forth. Not everything is here, but if you're like, where the heck are those attachments that I need to look for? Those are all here. If you click on them, it'll take you to that document and you can see it either just on your screen or you can download it, print it, whatever you need to do. So there's a lot of words here, but a lot of it is just taken from the RFP so that you don't have to go back and forth. And you see this save and resume later function. This page doesn't really matter because there's nothing to type. So I'm going to go to the next one and I'll show you. If you filled out, all of this information here, all your contact information, and then you get called away, like we all do, you can just click save and resume. If you click save and get link, you can just put your email in here and it will email you your application. And then you can just go into your email and open that thing right back up and get back to it. It's like, it doesn't like that because I didn't have an email address. You see what I'm saying? Or if you're like, I want to email this to someone else, cool, you can do that. So that is how you can save and come back to the application. So, and as I said moments ago, the annoying thing about this is that if you save and resume and you've already uploaded those documents, they don't save. So just know when you want to upload your documents, do that at the very end. And when I redesign this application for the future, all of that will be at the end of the application rather than in the middle of the application. But one of our partners noticed this problem. She's like, they don't save. And I looked it up and sure enough, that is how it is designed. So just know that when you're ready to submit, it won't let you submit anyway. You can't submit without uploading these, but If you were like, what the heck happened to them? Why didn't they save? It's because whoever designed this did not think about that or didn't know how to do that. So just be aware of that as you're going through it. And the real like bulk of this application really happens in sections 4 and 5. So we will ask you what neighborhoods you serve. And again, it's not a contest of who can serve the most neighborhoods. Only pick the ones that are relevant for you. And again, as I said, if there's another neighborhood, you have an opportunity to spell that out here. The youth populations, this is the same list that you saw just a few minutes ago. Again, you don't win a contest if you click all the boxes. And if you have a different population of youth that you believe you want to talk about and you serve, please share it here. And then the reason I also caution you from checking all the boxes is that question 4.5 asks you, what is your experience working with each group of youth that you clicked? So don't click all of them unless you really want to answer that question for each of those. And how will your program benefit each of those groups? So it's just an opportunity for you to be specific. And then in section 5, this is where we talk and ask you to say more about your service project and your training. So you would share which category your service project fits into best. And then there's an other box, because as I said, this is not an exhaustive list. This is just some suggestions and sort of some grand categories. So when the city of Sacramento says, what kind of service projects are they doing? I can easily search this and break it into categories. But please use the other box if you're doing something else. And you're certainly encouraged to do something else if that's what works best for your organization. Then in 5.2, you have the chance to just describe your project and how it connects to the Connect, Learn, Earn framework. Then we ask how it connects to the citywide youth development plan. And that is a super, super important document. This really guides the city of Sacramento's vision for youth and youth programming. So take a good look at this. It's one of your attachments in the RFP, so you will have it already, but if you need it for quick reference, you can just click on it right there. 5.4, what are your training topics? So, dig around in Imago and see if there's stuff in Imago that you want to use, but be detailed here. The more we know and the more specific you can be, the better. How does your training connect to your service project? And then who's guiding and mentoring your youth? So who's on your team? This can be people who are either paid staff, volunteers. They can be career experts if you really want to focus on a certain career pathway, and you're working in partnership with another business or organization. Be sure to share any of those. So it doesn't necessarily just have to be paid staff. It really could be anyone who is inherent in your SAC Youth Works program. You don't have to put, like, if you're executive director or whomever is not involved in that, you don't have to spell out all the staff that are in your organization. This is where you would pick in 5.7 the size of your youth cohort. We'd like to know in 5.8 about how many hours a week will you be doing programming, and just keeping in mind that you want to hit that 40 hours. How will you deliver your program? Will it be in-person, virtual, or hybrid? And then how will you ensure the safety of youth participants? And this is, again, just very general. If you are recommended for funding, that's when you have the opportunity to actually do the more detailed safety plan. But what we want to see is just, if you select it all in person and then you only talk about Zoom meeting safety, then it doesn't match. But if you are, hybrid, you would want to talk about what are your in-person protocols, what are your online or virtual space protocols, et cetera, et cetera. So but it does not have to be crazy long at all. As you can see, there are no word counts in this. So, that can be read in different ways, but we're not looking for a book from you. We are looking for concise responses, but if there's stuff you want to say, yeah, you have a chance to say it, but don't feel obligated to just go on and on and on, because it isn't a word count prize or anything like that. We just want you to say what you need to say and not feel like, oh, I didn't hit 2,000 characters or, whatever it is. So we've all had that stress. And that's really the big stuff in the application. And then just the last part asks for you to acknowledge a few different things, that you will screen all participants for eligibility. And I've already harped on that, but I'm going to keep harping on that. It's extremely important that you screen them for eligibility, that you will pay stipends and provide documentation of payments of those stipends. And we have some updated forms and some ways to support that. But you have to agree to pay stipends. Like this is not optional part of SAC Youth Work. The stipends are a huge part of it. And if you are struggling as an organization to be able to do that, I really want you to think about it. Think about, is this something we can mobilize quickly? Maybe a future SAC Youth Works opportunity might be better, while you kind of start thinking about, okay, how would we pay? Are we cutting checks? Are we doing Cash App? Like, what are we doing? So I really want you to think about that. You have to agree to follow all the COVID safety guidelines set by everyone, the city, county, state, all of the above. And then you have to agree to participate in our shared evaluation and data collection, as well as the administrative responsibilities. So evaluation, literally, we give you the template. You just have to have your youth fill it out. For those of you that are coming back, every organization will have their own enrollment SurveyMonkey. So Julie, you will have a Stanford Settlement SurveyMonkey. SAC Youth Center, you will have your own enrollment. We're not calling it intake anymore, it's enrollment. And because every young person chose SAC Youth Center instead of SAC Youth Work, which, it was, I totally understand it, but it was very hard sometimes. Like, why does SAC Youth Center have like 200 youth in their program? It's because young people just got confused. Now there's no way for them to get confused. They just have an enrollment link for your organization. They fill it out, done. The other thing I will say for those of you that are coming back is that the enrollments have to be done before we will cut your administrative check, because we had people filling out enrollment or intake in December when SAC Youth Works was ending. This is not how we want to roll. We learn new stuff every time. And then once you're all good with that, you submit the form. And I'll show you what happens when you submit and you don't fill out questions. You see all these red things. And then at the top, it shows here's all the missing fields, which for me is all of them, because I didn't fill out anything in this application. But if it won't submit, just look for the boxes that are in that pink and red, and that will tell you where you're missing information. When you submit, it will send you an email with all of your answers. And then it may say something like at the bottom, 13 missing fields or 13 fields not answered. Do not stress about that. The reason you might have fields that are not completed is if you're a fiscal sponsor, if you're a fiscally sponsored organization, there's a whole bunch of additional questions that you would answer versus if you were a 501c3. So there are going to be fields that will not appear if they don't apply to your organization. So don't worry, you cannot submit this unless you filled out all of the boxes. Okay. So I don't want you to be worried. We all have that fear when you hit submit. Oh my gosh, it won't submit if you haven't completed everything. Okay. I'm going to go back here. Doing okay on time. Okay. How will your application be evaluated? We screen everyone for basic eligibility. So you have to have your 501c3 letter. You have to have your Secretary of State and Attorney General paperwork or be in process and be able to document it. If you have that and you're in good standing with the entities related to the city, then you would move on to that next process. And that is where your application will be reviewed and scored by an independent committee on a 100-point scale. So Brian and I will screen for basic eligibility, and then we provide the applications to the selection committee, and they actually score them. Every application is scored by 2 people. So it's not just one person's score, it's 2 different people's scores, and we look at what is the median score between those 2. So, if you have a really strict reviewer and you have a really lax reviewer, we try to accommodate for those things. The areas where you'll be evaluated are accessing and engaging target populations, the project proposal alignment with Connect, Learn, Earn framework in the citywide youth development plan, and then your organization's experience and qualifications. So really your answers in sections 4 and 5 of the application really are where we are looking at those scores and what they'll be evaluating you on. You will be notified of funding decisions by Monday, the 19th at 5 o'clock. So we are really trying to you turn it in on the 14th, we do all the magic, and then you will be notified by the 19th because we know this is a tight timeline. And if we need to request more information, we will. So I don't really anticipate that happening, but if for some reason we do have a question about your application, we may reach out to you, but I won't worry too much about that. Okay, we're almost at Q&A, but I did want to just do some quick tips. Please use your resources. Please, please, please use all the resources that you have at your disposal. The RFP, review the online application. As you saw, you can click through it and just look at it. Prepare your answers ahead of time. Look at all those attachments that are in the RFP. And then there's also one of the attachments is the timeline. So when does SAC Youth Work start? When are the different meetings? Please review that to make sure that those dates are not completely impossible for your organization. Just plan ahead, know, and it can be things where there's a meeting and maybe you can't go, but somebody else who represents your organization can go. That's fine. It doesn't always have to be the same person every time. We just need representation from your organization at our partner meetings, which there's one in May, there's one in June, those kinds of things. So don't stress on it too much, but just be aware of what you're getting yourself into. It should be fun and it shouldn't be a problem, but I just always like to be really upfront about expectations. Please follow all directions. If you've done SAC Youth Works before, please don't go on SAC Youth Works autopilot. Some details and requirements have changed. So please don't use any materials that you had from the last SAC Youth Works, like the work plan. Don't use any old links. Please do not do that. Do not do that, because we have new things that make it much easier for us to support you and to be able to report all of the great work that you're doing back to the city of Sacramento. Please be realistic about the number of youth that you can serve in this time frame. We don't have a lot of time for recruitment. So I want to be just really, really honest that if you're like, I'm starting at 0, we don't have any youth right now, that's not necessarily insurmountable, but you are not going to have a lot of time to recruit, and we don't have a super up-to-date list of youth that are interested in the opportunity. We had that from the summer, but that's an aging list at this point, and I'm a little bit cautious about how quickly you can engage young people off of that list if you don't know them at all. It's not impossible, but it is challenging. Okay. Make sure that training is relevant to your service project and work-based learning. I know I've said that like 15 times. As I said earlier, your attachments do not save. So attach those required documents just before you plan to submit. We will have an FAQ document posted on the Youth and Family Collective website. So the questions that we get here, other questions that we've gotten by email, we'll be putting those on the website so you can see those. This session is being recorded, and I will share it with everyone who's registered. So if you want to go back and listen to anything, please do. And then if we get any questions, just anything after 5 o'clock on Monday, the 12th, I just can't guarantee that we can get back to you in time. So if you have questions, ask early, ask often, but just please do so before 5 o'clock on Monday. All right. What questions do you have? And I don't know, Brian, if you want to go through ones in the chat
Yes,
first.
I actually have a list.
Okay, let's do
And
it.
so I know you touched on this a little bit, but I do want to ask, so are we providing a list of students looking to be part of SAC Youth Works?
I cannot guarantee it. It
Okay.
might be possible, but I cannot guarantee it. I'd
All
like
right,
to do it in the future, but I can't guarantee it.
Okay, and then the next question is, are students that were in our fall program able to do this one as well?
Yes. And in fact, given the short time frame, I would encourage you to lean on some of your existing youth relationships. And this is an opportunity to build connection with them. But if you're going to repeat the exact same service project, I might think about how you might want to make it different in some way. Like the service project could be still the same activities, but how will you make it different if you have young people coming back? So yeah, I think that it is a short time frame, and I don't want you to just get kicked off, because they did it in the fall. So yes, you can engage youth. The only caveat, and I did not share this, is we really don't want to see youth doing SAC Youth Works at SAC Youth Center, SAC Youth Works at Urban League, SAC Youth Works at Stanford Settlement, SAC Youth, like little Brian should not be in 4 SAC Youth Works cohorts. I will honor their hustle for bringing in those dollars, but really we want to make the opportunities available to as many individual young people as possible. We did have a few. We had a couple who were, I bow down to them, but we really don't want to see that. So yeah, one cohort, they can come back. So yes, I hope that answers the question. Yes, you can engage youth from previous SAC Youth Works cohorts as long as they fit the eligibility criteria, of course.
The other question was, can your organization be an LLC to apply for this amazing grant?
No, you have to be a 501c3 or have a fiscal sponsor. So if you have an awesome idea and you can find a fiscal sponsor, probably do something with that.
Next question was, they heard you mention Cash App for payment. They just want to confirm if that is a usable payment method.
If you're able to document it, because what we will require are 2 things. One, you have to be able to document that you paid that youth, whether it's a receipt from Venmo, Cash App, PayPal, a check, like a check stub. You have to be able to identify that you paid that individual youth. And then we will have an actual affidavit form that youth will need to sign that they received their payment. So it's a little bit different. This is again why I say don't go on SAC Youth Works autopilot. So yeah, and I think there are some other partners who may have used electronic payment systems for their youth. So if you have done that and you want to pop that in the chat, so that other organizations can potentially contact you to talk about it, I would encourage that. I freely admit I am not an expert in this area. So, but we want to make it as accessible to youth as possible, and checks and things like that can be super annoying for a lot of people. So definitely we're looking for you to be creative, but also be able to document, because we have to, be able to show that every young person was paid. And we wouldn't want someone to come back and say, they never paid me. And you can say, oh, yes, we did. Here's the receipts that we paid you. Okay.
Okay,
Other
sorry, I'm
questions?
answering the questions. The other question was, if an organization can serve over 20 youth, is there a potential opportunity to serve more?
Right at this point, I don't see that happening. However, if something should happen where we only get 5 applications, I don't think that's going to happen. We might reach out to organizations to say, hey, we've got some additional spaces. My gut reaction on that one is that would likely be organizations who've demonstrated the ability to do it in the past, just because of the time frame. But I don't anticipate that happening. And what we found is we upped it to 30 youth for the last SAC Youth Works group. And we did have organizations that kind of exerted themselves and were not, it had a more challenging time getting to that 30. So we dialed it back to 20. And I know for some organizations, you've got way more than 20 youth that are interested. So at this point, I don't see it happening, but is there potential? Yeah, I think there's always some potential that we might have to ask organizations to serve more youth.
Those are all the questions I've gotten.
Okay, if folks are on mute and would like to unmute and ask a question, now is your time. You're such a well-behaved group. Usually it's like people are just off mute and just asking questions. So thank you for doing that. No other questions? Are you sure?
We were not, I think, are we allowing people to unmute themselves? I wonder if that's the issue.
Oh, if you can't, I think you can.
Testing for your mute test.
Yay, thank you. Thank you, Raquel. Yes, okay. All right. I will release you back into your regularly scheduled nonprofit or other adventure, but I will stay on for a little bit. If you have more questions, since I have until 1 o'clock blocked off for this, so I'm happy to stay and answer any questions. And then I'm going to just move on to the next slide so that you can see our contact information. And just don't forget, applications are due on Wednesday, April 14th by 5 o'clock. So we're here to help you, and I will just hang on the line while those of you that are ready to go eat lunch and do other things get to go do that. So thanks so much for making the time. I'm excited to see all your applications, and thank you for all that you do for our young people.
Rachel, I just wanted to say thanks, and Brian, for all you guys, this is Fatima, for all you guys' hard work and dedication, and just giving the youth the opportunity to earn money, earn some funds. It's a really big deal. And just reporting back, since we participated in this, I've had 2 youth get jobs, and then tons of people asking, them referring their friends and really talking about the impact. I think this is really, really huge, especially for South Sacramento, and, for our youth to have a positive way to impact their communities and to earn money. Shout out to Pastor Limon, to Mr. Sergio, doing their food distribution and the other things, like really, I really appreciate this, because I've been able to see the impact of us, working together and, working as a community to serve the youth. Is almost want to cry. It's like really, really excited to see each time what you guys put together at the end. And I just want to say thank you guys so much.
Thank you. I mean, you've been such an incredible partner, and just, if people don't believe in this, it doesn't work. If people don't want to do it, it doesn't work. And that means a lot. Like, it really means a lot, especially to see folks coming back. When I was looking at the RSVP list, and it was so many people that have been part of it since the beginning. And I really was like excited to see people willing to come back, because if it's annoying, you won't come back. And I know that. So thank you for rolling with it and rolling with it.
It's been the work that Fatima. Oh, I was going to say, it's been the work that Fatima has done with the youth, and she does other great things too. She's being very humble. She is the hub here in South Sacramento. I also have an organization. It's why I got on to this call today and was interested, just due to just her modeling, just absolutely just amazing role modeling skills. And she's so cool and humble, but has no boundaries with helping any other organizations get on their feet, as well as our youth. And it was extremely inspiring what the work they were doing when South Sac Heart did reach out and events. They did a lot of the stuff behind the scenes, but it was so empowering. And now that she's going to be going, she can't be my fiscal sponsor, so I'm really interested in working with our youth and specifically our marginalized youth who are Black and brown, who look like me, our foster care youth who've not had access to, role models and need the love and a community. And I really wanted to do a project with the help of my daughter, who we just believe in providing back to our community. But I'm an LLC, so I don't have the 501c status. So
I would, I'm really glad that you joined though too, because we have fiscally sponsored organizations, and I don't know if you've had an opportunity to connect with any other organizations who'd be willing to do that for you, but it's certainly a possibility, and we do have organizations that are in the same exact position where they have an idea or they've already been doing things. They're just not an official 501c3 status at this point. So I would encourage you to do that. And then what I would also say, Zuri, is that there will be more opportunities too. So if this one, like this really came up so fast and the deadline was fast and it's so annoying. And I feel really bad about that because it's tough to mobilize new things right now in that environment. But we really are working toward additional opportunities like this moving forward. So I would say, like, if the pieces don't come together for this one, I would not give up. I would definitely be looking at the different organizations that are out there, because some of them do service as fiscal sponsors. And it's something like we could even ask people like, who's willing to do this? And I think there are organizations that are. So yeah, just don't give up hope. It can happen, and who knows, like if you start it, who knows where it'll go. So I really appreciate you just sitting through this whole thing, and stay in touch with us too. Like I'll send you the Youth and Family Collective information that we do, because we do meetings outside of SAC Youth Works that bring together all kinds of partners that are supporting youth and families. And there's not just nonprofits, it's businesses, government, all kinds of different folks. For-profit businesses even are in there too. So I think that networking too might help you connect to someone who could support you. For sure. So thank you. Any other questions, comments? Cool. Hi, Julie.
Just want to say thanks for a very thorough presentation, and for the gentle reminder to not just copy and paste from the last time. Just gonna put it out there again. I know we talked about this back last summer, but there's something about kids being with our youth working with our staff, delivering meals. There's something that and I just want to, that's probably a deal breaker for us to apply this time because of how our workload is. So I just want to revisit, or put a little flag out there on that topic about, I know there's labor laws about what kids can do, and
I'll be honest with you, like the city put that out and I don't know, I haven't actually seen the rules. Like I can't even pretend like I've seen those rules. So that's something I want to look into, because maybe those aren't the rules,
Yeah. I think it comes down to the definition of the word deliver. And when I read I'll find my emails and forward them to you, but what I read, it sounded more like kids hanging off the back of a truck, delivering, throwing stuff off the truck. Like, of course we're not going to do that. So, but I'll send that stuff back to you. Just for,
I don't really want to exclude you from it. I don't want to, I don't, especially with all the COVID response stuff, and some of our projects do have to have a COVID relief
Yes.
into them.
Yeah.
They don't all have to this time around, which is nice, but yeah, let's like chat or send me what you have because
I will.
yeah, when those initial things came out, it was just very like, they can't do it. And we didn't really
That's
think
it.
more about like, what does that do? What? Like,
Yeah.
what is that? How do we really define it? So
Right.
yeah. And if we don't have to be strict about it, I don't want to be strict about dumb stuff that doesn't like that we don't have to be. I don't want rules just for the sake of rules. It doesn't make any sense. So
Agreed.
yeah, if you don't mind sharing what you
I
have,
will. I'll send
that
it
would
to
be
you right away.
awesome. 'Cause
Thank you.
I want you to be eligible for this.
Thanks. We do
Cool.
too. Kids love getting a job here.
I love the pictures of your young people. They make me so happy. All of you.
They're great.
Cool. All right. I think we're good.
Okay.
Thanks, everybody.
Thank you,
Appreciate
Rachel.
you.
Thank you,
Have a
Brian.
great afternoon. We'll see you soon.
Bye.
Bye. Thank you.